This particular lesson is going to be talking about induction, and induction is a kind of thinking you use to form general ideas and rules based on your experiences and observations. And induction is like looking at a pattern and trying to figure out what the pattern is so you can predict what's going to happen in the future. With this type of thinking, you're using evidence to make your conjectures. You're not just guessing or using hypothesis. You're actually using information you've obtained from what your pictures are or what the problem is, and you're taking that and forming a conjecture about what's going to happen later on. So if you skip down to where it says page 5, this really gives the best definition, where it says inductive thinking involves looking for patterns and things that repeat. That is the whole point of inductive thinking, is to look for patterns and things that repeat. So it says to use induction and find the pattern in the triangular numbers and draw the fifth step. So if you look at the next page, we have these triangles. So in the first row, we have a triangle that's made up of what looks like marbles, I guess. In the first row, there's 1. The second row, there's 2. The third row, there's 3. The fourth row, there's 4. So obviously the fifth row, there are going to be 5, and that would be the next row. So the sections from page 9 and 10 are from pictures that are in the lesson, which you don't actually need to look at in order to figure this out. But let's skip down to the bottom where it says page 13, how would you define symmetry? And symmetry is going to be something that you're going to need to understand, not only for this lesson, but for the rest of geometry. When something is symmetrical, that means that it can be split in half so that the two sides are identical. And it's easier to see symmetry. So if I draw, for example, the letter V, when I draw the letter V, there's a line of symmetry that goes through the middle, because if I were to fold this shape in half along that line, it would be identical on both sides. So if you were to define symmetry, you would say that it's splitting something in half, something into two equal halves that are reflections of each other. And you may have a better way of describing symmetry. It may be something you really understand, and you may not need to write that. But the best definition I can give you is that it's splitting something in half, or into two equal halves, that are reflections of each other. So like the V, as we said earlier, the left side and the right side are reflections of one another, and they're identical to each other. So looking at some of the practice problems. So for questions 1 through 6, draw or write the next step in the sequence. Again, we're going to do the odds together. So if we're looking at question 1, it says 1A, 1A, 2B, 2B, 3C, 3C, 4D. And so the next step in the sequence obviously is going to be the letter 4. And if we're following the pattern of numbers, it's lowercase a, capital A, lowercase b, capital B. And so my next letter would then be a capital D. For number 3, it says 14F, 15G, 16H, 17I. So my numbers are increasing. So the next number is going to be 18. And the letters are going F, G, H, I. The next letter in the alphabet would be J. For number 5, we start off with 2 blocks, and then we have a row of 4, and then a row of 2 underneath it, and then a row of 6, and then 2 rows of 2 underneath it. And so what's happening here is every time we're adding 2 blocks to the right and adding 2 blocks underneath. So 2 blocks to the right and 2 blocks underneath. And that's how we're continuing the pattern. There's a couple more examples. If we look at number 7, it says choose the figure that is most likely the next step in this sequence. So the biggest thing here is you're just going to have to pay attention to what's happening. So if you look at 7, you have a triangle, a rectangle, and then what we would call a pentagon, because it does have 5 sides. And so we've got to figure out what's happening. Well, the first shape has 7. The first shape has 3 sides, the second shape has 4, the next one has 5. I'm going to write that in, 3, 4, 5. So the next shape needs to have 6 sides. So we're just looking for which answer choice offers a shape with 6 sides, and that would be answer choice B. Number 9, you have a circle with 1 line, then a circle with 2 lines, and then a circle with 3 lines. And the answer choices are on the next page, or you could probably just predict what it would be like. The next one is going to be a circle with 4 lines, and those 4 lines are very specific. They are beginning to form what is most likely a pentagon, even though that is horrifically drawn. I apologize greatly for my lack of artistic ability, but that would be the next shape. I'm going to go ahead and flip over to the answer choices. And in fact, that shape does exist, and it is answer choice B.